Thank you so much, Miss Ann. And thank y'all so much for having me here today. And thank you, Miss Ann, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. And for everybody who helped put this together, because this is a really big ordeal, I'm sure, and I really appreciate it. So the reason that we tell our story is to help prevent this from happening to anyone else. Because what happened to our family is not anything that we ever even knew existed. We had no idea this could even happen. So we share to create awareness. And I do want to apologize ahead of time because I realize that what I have to say is very disturbing. But instead of being afraid, I want you just to take it as a blessing that you're here today, because I know nobody's here by mistake and there's somebody here that needs to hear this. But think of it as education. You're being educated so that you can prevent this from happening to you or someone you love or someone you know. So just take it as a blessing. Don't be afraid. Don't be too disturbed by it. I mean, it's a good thing to be disturbed, otherwise we wouldn't be motivated to do anything. It is a warning, but just try to see it as a blessing. So before we get started, I'd like to bow for a word of prayer. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, I just thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you for every person that's here in this room. Lord, I just ask you to use me today as your hands and feet. Not my will, but your will would be done, and that you would use me as your mouthpiece to speak through me, your Holy Spirit, and what you would have for me to say today, because I'm just a fallible human being, and there's nothing that I can say that's going to help anyone, Lord, but you are the God of creation. You're the creator. You're the one that makes all things new, Lord, and you are the one, the only one true God that is to be worshipped. So, Lord, I just ask that you would touch every heart here today in a special way, in the way that they need to be touched. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay, so first I do want to tell you a little bit of an introduction to our story, and then I want to give you some education, some warning signs of predators, and some strategies and tactics that they use, and some tools that you can use. And then I want to open it up for question and answer. And as I go through, I'll tell more of our story, so you'll get more of that. But I do want to open it up for question and answer, because I believe that that's where we really learn the most. So in 2018, our daughter was 21 years old at the time, and she had never lived away from home before. And she got up in the middle of the night and left our home and boarded a plane headed to India to talk to or to meet someone she had been talking to online for 2 years without our knowledge. This boy's family had paid for a one-way ticket for our daughter to come to their country. And the whole time she had a boyfriend at home. So we had no idea she was talking to anyone else. And through a series of miracles and divine intervention and the help of Homeland Security, U.S. congressmen, U.S. Marshals, the Indian government, we were able to go over there and get her and bring her home. But the minute that we landed in our airport, she was once again taken from us. But this time by people we knew, people we trusted, people who were helping us in the beginning to get her back. See, she did not perceive the danger that she was in, and she was angry with us, and she said, I didn't want them to save me. So on the 17th of this month, the 17th of September, will be the 7-year anniversary from the day that she left that fateful day. And we have not received, her father or I, even a single, so much as a text from her in 7 years. But God is good, and he's been there through it all, and he is still holding her hand, and he's still working. And I am going to share with you some of the miracles he performed and some of the promises he gave me that came true. And so I know the rest of it will come true too. So I want to take a moment here, or I want to pause here, and this is where I want to give more of the education, and then we'll come back and I'll finish some of the story at the end. But what is human trafficking? Because human trafficking and online predators is rapidly increasing in our world, so fast that you really can't even keep up with the statistics. If you read a statistic, it's probably already passed, and it's very underreported. So anything that you hear is probably way worse, because it's not like they're reporting it to the IRS and paying their taxes on it. It's very underreported. But human trafficking is the exploitation of a human being. The exploitation of a human being treated unfairly for another person's benefit. And there's many different ways that happens. But the fact that we have the internet now, the online predators, our kids and ourselves, we are accessible from anywhere in the world at virtually any time. And so it has made it so much easier than it ever was before. And we know that the Bible tells us that in the last days, you will be deceived. That's what Jesus said over and over. Do not be deceived, do not be deceived, do not be deceived, because he knew in the last days there would be deception. But he also said that we are not unaware of the enemy's devices. And he said, my people, he calls us his people, he said, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So today I hope to bring you some knowledge so that you will not find yourself in the situation that we have. So the size of the problem is that 50 million people are being trafficked today. And when you look at that with the Holocaust of only being 6 million Jews that were killed, 50 million is a lot of people being trafficked today. And it has been reported in all 50 states in the U.S., so there's no state that's immune. It's been reported in every country in the world. No country is immune to it. It's a $173 billion a year industry, the second most profitable illegal activity. And as I said, it's increasing rapidly. It increased 29% last year alone. So it's going very fast. And right now, there's 500,000 predators online every day with you, your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren. Now I want to talk about why it's difficult to rescue people. And this is why it's so important that we do a really good job of prevention, because once you are taken, it is very unlikely that you will ever make it out. And this is why. I believe this is why. The rescue rate is only 1 to 2%. 1 to 2% is the rescue rate. And the 0.1% of the perpetrators ever get prosecuted. So the reason for both of those things is something called trauma bonding. Trauma bonding used to be called Stockholm Syndrome because in Stockholm, Sweden was the first time that they noticed this phenomenon where there was a bank robbery and some people were being held hostage, and the victims began to stop working with police and start protecting the person holding them hostage. Well, the way that it works is that when someone is going to kill you and then they relent and change their mind and they decide now they're not going to kill you, now you're grateful to them because they saved your life. And so in a twisted sort of kind of way, it bonds you to them, and so now you start seeing everything that you do and what they do is intimately correlated, that whenever what you do and their happiness is tightly connected. So there's this trauma bonding. So it not only keeps the victims from being able to be rescued because they want to be there. It's not like they're trying to get away. They want to be there. They've been bonded to this person, but also it makes it hard to prosecute or find the people because now she's protecting him. Even after she's no longer in that bad situation, even if she got out of it and did get help and is no longer in that traumatic situation, she still protects him. So that's why they don't get prosecuted. But another reason they don't get prosecuted is because we have a corrupt system. Our court system is actually trafficking our children. I have a dear friend, and I know from very personal experience, they are going through that very thing right now. And also because there's a lot of money to be made in trafficking. And two of the biggest two ways that fund trafficking is prostitution and pornography. The girls in those videos and in those magazines are not doing that because they want to do it. They're not doing it because they're making money doing it. They're not doing it because they're enjoying it. They're doing it because they're being trafficked to do it. And if they don't act really well and act like they're enjoying it, then they will be beaten or killed. So this is not just for entertainment. This is funding our children being basically sold to the devil. So who do they target and how do they target? I just want you to get a bigger, more knowledge, because I'm still learning these things. So they target children, not just girls but boys. They target teens, young adults, adult men and women, and even senior citizen men and women. How do they target? These are some of the tactics and strategies that they use. The first one is the one that we most likely, well, I guess most of us would think of. It's what happened to our daughter in our situation. It was a romantic relationship that she was pulled into this trap. They call it the Romeo. And so what happens is you think you're in love with someone online. You really don't know who it is. They could be whoever they want to be behind a computer screen. They can look like they're your best friend. They can look like they're your age. They can have a name like you. They can talk like you. They can, a lot of times they're not even, you don't even hear their voice. It's just typing. They can do all these things, and there's so many apps now. They could do it in other languages. They can make it really, really convincing. And now with AI that just came out this year, really ramping up this year, anything is possible, and you can't even believe anything sometimes when you see it because of all the deep fake videos and things that happen. It's just unbelievable. So anybody can be whoever they want, and so they will entice a girl online thinking that they're in this love relationship. But I want to point out that this doesn't just happen to young girls. It also happens to senior citizens, men and women, a lot of times. So for me, being in the middle in my 40s, it's like we're having to be concerned about our children, but we're also having to be concerned about our parents, our elderly parents. Because, not that mine are elderly yet, but your elderly parents, you have to. Because they will get pulled into an online relationship, say for a woman, for instance, and she'll start sending money to a man because, he needs help and he's so pitiful, but he's so charming, and she just gets pulled in, she starts sending money. So this extortion will fund the other operation. This is a whole operation. This is an organization. The person in front is just the front person. They can be anybody. They're not the one doing everything. They're not the one pulling the strings. There's a whole organization and business behind it. They have a lot of money behind it. They're very powerful. They're very skilled, and they know what they're doing. Very deceptive. And it doesn't matter who you are. They know how to get to you. So even recently we had someone close to us that we know who was a senior citizen man. And he was sending money to a young woman, 30 years old, beautiful, that he thought was going to marry him. And he was going to leave his wife and go marry this girl. And he was sending her money. And he sold a lot of his stuff and sent money that belonged to him and his wife to this girl. Now, luckily, he finally woke up to the fact, because it took him a long time to believe that that was not what this was, that this was not real. And when he finally woke up to it, and luckily for him, his wife forgave him and she stayed with him, and they're doing well right now. But that is the turmoil that you can go through. And that was someone we know personally. Okay, so I also wanted to go back and say something about who the predators target. The Camille Place that Miss Ann has put an offering up for, they're the first home for trafficked children in Alabama, and they're in Monroeville. And I was doing a speaking engagement there at the Monroeville Museum, and the lady that helps run the home for the children came up to me afterwards, and she said, we have children from ages 6 years old to 19 years old that are here in our home. But the next thing that she told me, I didn't even know if I could believe it, because it was just, I don't even know how it's humanly possible, but she said some of these children have been trafficked or sold. She said sold 40 to 80 times a day. That's every 15 minutes. I don't know, how do you eat or sleep? You're just an object at that point. So they help rehabilitate these children and give them a safe place to go. So the romantic relationship is one of probably the biggest ones, but let me tell you some of the other ones, because some girls may be like, well, they're too smart for that, right? Well, there's the employment opportunity on Craigslist or Indeed, especially modeling, or being an actress or something like that is a big way that they pull people in. But it could be any job opportunity, and you're not really sure what the job details are really about. It's kind of vague. And then the interview is a long way away from home. Like sometimes they'll even put you on a plane and fly you to them for the interview. And then when you get there, it's not what you thought that it was. And let me also tell you that the women are very involved in this. This is unbelievable to me how women can do and girls can do to other women and girls. They make sure there's females that will be the front person, because she's going to feel safe and she's going to trust another woman. So the people that hire or pretend that they're hiring will be a female, and she'll say, yeah, I need you to come see my manager. Well, her manager is a pimp. She's one of the ones that are being trafficked too. My daughter, the boy had his sister, supposedly, we're not even sure if it is his sister or not, but his sister to come with him, and his sister was talking to her this whole time too. The whole family was talking to her. They had a birthday party for her online where they blew out the candles for her online, like they were celebrating her birthday with her, unbeknownst to us this whole time. They became her family. She loved them. She wanted to go be with them, and she said, if I don't go, I don't know how much longer I could possibly not be with people that made me laugh and cry every day and that have done so much for me. It's unbelievable, the brainwashing and the manipulation that goes on. Another way that they get kids is through video games. This is the way they get the little boys, especially as young as 8 years old. They'll be playing a video game online, and let me tell you, these people, we don't understand in America. America is one of the most heavily trafficked countries. We're like the top one because I think of our, not just our money, but our naivety, that we just don't think that other people are that bad and that deceptive. And I'm not trying to bash on other countries and cultures, but when people are in poverty, they will do things. And they've learned it. They've grown up doing it that way. From the time they're children, they learn to pickpocket, and then when they get older, they do bigger things to help their family survive. And they don't see anything wrong with it. It's just their way of life. So they are very, very patient. That's the key thing you need to know. They're very patient. They will take about 1 to 2 years of their time grooming someone, building their trust, getting them to think that they act so compassionate, so humble, so charming to your little boy playing the video game. Oh, he's a friend. And then one day, or your daughter there's someone that they think they're in a love relationship with, because, let's be honest, especially teenagers, what teenager do you know that's happy? And they prey on the unhappiness of teenagers. And so when a young man is like, well, it's better over here, I love you, I want to be with you, come go with me, and then they pull up to the front door and they think they're just going out on a date, and he drives her across the country to his manager, to his whole brothel, or puts her on a plane somewhere. So video games is another way. And like I said, it doesn't matter if it's a girl or boy. It doesn't matter if you're 6 years old or 90 years old. It does not matter. It is everybody is a target. So another thing is that the victims, as I mentioned this before, they become the recruiters. I don't know if you've ever watched the Jeffrey Epstein documentary. I don't remember the name of the documentary, but you can look it up on Netflix. This is, something that he did. He would pay the girls $250 for every girl that they brought in. And if she did that, she didn't even have to do the sexual act. Just get your friend and you can make the same amount and you don't even have to do anything. Now, how enticing is that, especially in a poverty-stricken neighborhood? So they would do this to their own friends. and get their friends in. So your kids might be going to school, and maybe some guy comes up to your daughter who entices her into a relationship, and he's like, well, come go with us, we got something going on over here. Or, even your just a friend, a girlfriend, hey, I've got a place for us to go tonight, and you're gonna make some good money, or whatever, anything to entice them. So the victims become the recruiters. Now, normally we think that the way that this happens is some kind of guerrilla warfare type military stuff where, somebody pulls up to a gas station and abducts you and puts you in the car and drives away. That is most of the time not how it happens. That only happens about 2% of the time. And let me tell you the reason why. Because it is not in the predator's best interest to do it that way. Why? Because then that gives the police something to work with. She was abducted. She doesn't want to be there. She doesn't even know this person. How much better is it whenever she wants to be there? She's in a relationship. She loves this person. This person's going to do this for her and that for her. She's going to have this big job, make all this money. They need them to want to be there. And so they stay in that frame of mind long after, even if they do get out of the situation. They protect them. They're afraid of what's going to happen to them and their family if they do give them up. They're always, even after, if they do get rescued and they're out of that situation, they're always in the back of their mind. They've been conditioned, they've been controlled to think, if I ever go against him, he's always there. He's always going to come. He's always going to come. He's going to hurt me. He's going to hurt my family. He's going to do something. It's always there. So this is the fear tactic, is a really, really good strategy for them. And that's why we have to put our hope and faith in Jesus Christ and nothing else, because fear will get you in every part of your life if you don't put Jesus Christ first. And I also want to talk about on the last part about who and how they target. I want you to know that this can happen to anybody, because in our situation, it might look like, because they definitely, in any cases, they always prey on the most vulnerable. We know that. People who are in poverty, people who have mental problems, that is huge on the list. And I think that's the reason why we're having so many mental problems, is because the whole system has been bred that way. It's on purpose. Our daughter, we found out about 4 months before she left that she was on the spectrum, that she had very high functioning autism. And we had not gotten her diagnosed because I feel like the Lord had cured her. He saved her from it. About the time that I found out about it, and it's in the book, but for 19 years of her life, because she was high functioning, we had no idea that there was a problem. We just thought, she's just different, She just was slow to develop. She definitely was slow to develop, not only mentally with her studies, but socially. She had social anxiety. She had some depression, not a lot, mostly anxiety and social anxiety, and she didn't like to be touched very much, and she didn't start talking until she was 3 years old, and she didn't really talk a lot. She stayed in her room, self-isolated, which is half the job is already done for them when they self-isolate. The predator, half the job's already done. She just didn't really seem like, she was very moody, and she didn't seem like she liked being around us, her family, because she didn't like playing games. She didn't like watching movies with us. She stayed in her room all the time. And after a while, Mom's just like, you try to pull her out, you try to get her to be involved, and you're like, finally, you're like, you just give up. You're like, well, just do what you want to do, what makes you happy. I mean, she did laugh. She liked to laugh. She knew what made her feel good. She liked being in the sunshine, and she had to exercise, and she had to eat healthy, and she had to take long hot showers, and she had to laugh. She had to do all these things to make herself feel better. But the point is that even though my daughter, it made her very naive, because people with these problems don't really understand things. They don't understand what's happening to them, on top of the fact that normal people who do understand can be deceived. But The person that wrote the foreword for my book, John Baldwin, his daughter, and he wrote a book called Almost Gone. And his daughter almost did the same thing that our daughter did. But they were able to find out ahead of time before it happened and stop her from going. But my point here is that what this can happen to anybody is Mackenzie was not like my daughter at all. She didn't have mental problems. See, my daughter didn't have any friends really. This girl had friends. This girl was popular at school. She was close to her family. She had went on, the church campouts and the rock climbing and father-daughter rock climbing and camping, which we did that too. We went to the camping and things too, but her and her father had a very close relationship. And she, they spent time having long conversations, he said. Now, I don't know at what point that broke down or what, I don't know all the details, but I mean, from outside looking in, this man was like the mom dad, He was the one that was there for all his kids, especially his daughter, his oldest child. So what I'm trying to say is this is not just someone who doesn't have it good at home. This is someone who had a Christian home, a good relationship with her father, and she was still deceived. And the thing is that she was very stubborn and very adventurous. And he promised this adventure, and she was going to leave her family. She actually had been keeping this a secret for a year, and she was going to leave her family and go marry this man, never meeting him in person, just online. She was going to go marry him. She had a boyfriend also, just like my daughter. She was going to go marry him and leave her family. And when she realized what she was going to do, I know that it had to be a very traumatic experience for her, because my editor that helped me with the book is the same editor that helped them with their book, and she said when she was trying to help her write her part, because her and her dad wrote the book together, and when she was helping her write it, she said it was very difficult for her. You could tell that she had been traumatized, and she didn't even leave. Now, my daughter actually left and has been gone for 7 years. Now, that seems like a pretty hopeless situation, wouldn't you say? But there's always hope with God. But this girl, she just couldn't believe that she had been deceived that way, because she's very smart. She's a smart girl. So it can happen to anyone. Now, I want to give you some of the warning signs that I saw looking back on this. As I've already said, the very first thing that they must do in order to take you, the first thing they must do, it will not work without this, they must isolate you from your family and your friends. So when you see your child or your loved one, your wife, your spouse, withdrawing from you, starting to hide things from you, then you know something is up. It's a red flag. Now, it was harder for me because our daughter already was doing this all her life. She had always isolated from us. She was never happy to be around us, even as a child, because of the autism, I believe. But they will start, but in the last 2 months before she left, even with her, I could tell this is way worse than it has ever been. There was an ice cold friction in the house. Then I didn't know where it was coming from, and I would even stay late at work till 8 o'clock at night just so I didn't have to come in the house with her. It was cruel hatred, and I'll tell you, it was demonic. I know it was. I didn't realize that quite at the time. I definitely see it now for sure, 100%. She would say things like, she was 21 years old, but she was upset with me because we weren't feeding her. It's just illogical. It's illogical the way they brainwash. If you don't have a real problem in your house, which nobody doesn't have problems, but they will take a truth and they will blow it out of proportion, because what they want to do is they want to divide your loved one from you. They want to cause division. So what they'll do is they'll make them angry at you or afraid of you. And so when I would ask my daughter, hey, you want me to pick up something from Subway for you? We're going to get lunch. You want me to bring something home from the restaurant? she gets this real pitiful look on her face, like, yes, I would like some food. So like, I'm abusing my child, and later we were told that the family, the mother of this boy, said that they believed that they were rescuing our daughter from an abusive household. So they will make the child, it's better, instead of him lying about it, just make the child believe they're being abused, and then the child tells everyone that, and then he's not saying it, she's saying it, because he put it there, right? He put it there. And every little thing that's going wrong in your home will be made out to be like you're the worst person. And so I really admonish you to be very close to your children and to do whatever you can to pull them in close and to understand what's going on, and try not to be an enemy in any way. Don't even look like you're an enemy, because even if you don't look like one, they will make you look like one. Okay, so again, the reason that they isolate is they only want that person's thoughts, their victim. They only want the victim to have their thoughts in their head and nobody else's thoughts. They don't want anybody else's thoughts, plans, beliefs, feelings in their head but theirs. That's the programming. That is the brainwashing, if you will, the manipulation, the influence that they want to have control over this person. And they cause them to not only distrust their family and friends, but anyone who could help them. The police, a social worker, a therapist, anybody who could get them help. They are made to distrust those people. Those people are the enemy. So they're not going to go get help. And they fear these people. They fear their own parents, their own family, their own spouses. So I just want to say, if you are spending all your time, you have to ask yourself, if you are spending all your time with this one person, you need to ask yourself why. And some girls will say, oh, but he's not making me. I want to spend time with him. It's not him, it's me. I want to spend all that time with him. Well, ask yourself why. Why? Because it is not healthy for anyone to spend 100% of their time with one person and nobody else. Nobody else in your life, nobody else's thoughts that could have a reasoning, that would have a sense of reason to bring to their mind. Like, oh, wait, that doesn't make sense. They don't want that. They don't want any of that. So ask yourself why, because it's not healthy to have one person. We need all kinds of people and input in our life. And more than anything, we need the Bible in our minds and not just one other person's thoughts in our heads. The second thing after isolation, there are 6 warning signs. The second one after isolation is changes in characteristics or behavior. Is there any odd behavior happening with your loved one? Is there anything that is out of character or strange or odd comments or questions? My daughter began asking me about airports and flying, and is Mobile an international airport? And I'm like, oh, where does all this come from? Like, I had no idea why she was asking these questions at the time. I mean, now it's very obvious. But at the time, I was like, wow, maybe she's just interested in flying like I was. I wanted to be a pilot, and we had taken our kids on discovery flights to see if they were interested, but they weren't. And I thought, well, maybe she's interested now. Maybe she wants to be a pilot. But I didn't stop and have a conversation about it. I didn't really, I was just kind of going, like, during lunch one day when she started asking these questions. Another thing that she did is, and this is what struck me with an unfamiliar fear, scared me to death. She came into my bedroom one night. I think this might have been a couple of months before she left. She came into my bed one night, stood by my bed, which was already strange for her. She never came to my room unless she wanted to borrow something. And she stood next to my bed and she said, is there anything that I could ever do that would make you not let me live here anymore? And that gripped me and scared me to death, and I did not know what to do with that. And I said, no, why? Oh, no reason. And I was thinking, well, why ask? And I said, what are you planning? And she said, oh, nothing. And I wish that I would have stopped and taken the time to unpack all of what that question meant. But I didn't, because it was It was so scary, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do with it. And instead of having a conversation, I began to rationalize in my mind, well, what could she possibly do? She stays in her room all the time. She drives back and forth 4 minutes to work. She doesn't have any friends. She doesn't go anywhere. She's the last person I have to worry about. What in the world is she going to do? She's not going to do anything. I could have never dreamed what she was planning. So, changing characteristics or behavior. The third thing, if you have access to their bank account, you can always follow the money. And if you have a child living in your home, I don't care if they're over 18, I don't care how old they are, if they're living in your house, you need to be able to know what's going on. You need to be able to sit down, even if you don't have access to that bank account. I did. My name was on all the kids' bank account because they were all over 18, but they were, I was trying to guide them in their finances, making this transition. And I'll tell you today, kids going from home to on their own, that huge gap of a transition, they don't know how to do it. The best of them are having trouble. I will tell you, because I have 3 children, they're all different, and the best of them are having some struggles with it. I mean, back in our parents and our grandparents, they're out at 14 years old living on your own. They can't do it. So help your children. You can always tell them, and you are their parent. As their parent, you want their best interests. So, you're not doing anything other than the right thing. It's the right thing to do. So don't feel like you're invading their privacy. I'm telling you, I'm so sick of hearing that, because we had a 15-year-old girl whose mother, she ended up, she was doing things online, and someone did come up to her front door and got her in the car and drove her across the country, and they did get her back. But even after that, the mother was like, we were like, well, you need to take the phone away from hers, or you need to, which we know that's not really realistic. But she said, well, I don't want to invade her privacy. Like, really? Invade her privacy, please. Because there was another girl who said that she was in an online relationship, and then someone drove up and took her, was coming to her house to take her somewhere. But there was a nosy neighbor across the street, and her parents were out of town. And she said, thank God for the nosy neighbor across the street. This girl was thankful that someone, an adult, was being nosy and watching out for her. So they will be thankful for it. So you can apologize later. But number one is their safety. So again, about the bank account, I only had a few rules for my daughter in our house when she was 21, is that you respect us, you clean up after yourself, and you spend some time with us, because you're in our house, spend some time with us. And then the last thing was just to save up some money so you can get out on your own one day. I don't want you living here until you're 30. She was 21. I'm like, and I know it was still early, but I was like, start saving up. Let's start planning. Let's start making a plan. So for the past 18 months, I printed all those bank statements out for the past 18 months. I spread them out on her bed, and I'm like, there's no money in your account. You've been making money. You don't pay any bills. Where's the money? And I noticed 2 transactions that really tipped me off. It was a red flag. This was 2 weeks before she was going to get on that plane that I didn't know about. One of them was a check written out to cash for $500, and in the memo line it said, travel. I said, where are you going? What is this travel? Her lips were airtight. She was not going to give up anything. I sat there for 2 hours questioning her, and she completely stonewalled me with not a single word. She would not answer a single question, which was already kind of typical of her, but this was even worse. And it felt like a block of ice in that room. And so I finally chalked it up to, well, I guess she's just fantasizing, because she liked to do that, pretend, she's going to go somewhere. I thought maybe it was in town, And then the second thing was charged for $300 to a place called Cox and Kings, Coxkings. And I said, what is this? And she would not answer me. So I finally just figured it was some clothing store. But what I should have done was gone online and Googled it and seen what that was. You can't just look at what the name is on the bank statement. You need to find out, what is that? Later, after she was gone, I found out that's where she got her visa. If I had just looked, I would have known, but by then it was too late after she was already gone. So you have to take time to sit down and look at it, and if you have access to the bank account, you will know some things that are going on. But I also want to talk about the mailbox. The mailbox, our daughter was so upset that we had changed out our mailbox and gotten a mailbox that had a lock on it because we live at our business and we didn't want anyone bothering our mail. And she was very upset and said she needed her own key for her own mailbox. And I said, well, there's a key right there in the drawer, but we check it every day, so you don't need to check it. Oh, she was so upset. And I didn't understand. I thought it was funny, like, why is she so worried about the mail? Well, where are they getting their mail? And you think it's just coming to your house, right? Well, the girl that wrote the book, Almost Gone, Mackenzie, she had a P.O. box. And that's how he sent her plane tickets. My daughter, the plane tickets came to our mailbox, and my daughter got them out without us ever seeing it. My daughter even printed off the letter she left us right there in my office on my printer and came and got it without me seeing it. Because everything was right under my nose, right under the radar. That's why I can only believe that God allowed this to happen. For what reason, I don't know yet, but maybe it's for me to come and do this. So, the mail. And, we can try the best that we can, but we can't prevent everything. There's loopholes. And I hate to even say it because I don't want to give them ideas, but there are other, if you don't have that, even if you know that bank account, there's other accounts that they can open, credit cards and bank accounts and stuff like that. So, but I think that what you do have control over, what you can do, you must do. Whatever else, you can't help. But you need to do what you can do. They're always going to find ways. If they want to do it, they will do it. That's why I say the most important thing is we have to deal with the heart situation. It's the same way with any crime or sin or anything. It's not controlling the outside, the external, it's the heart. You can stop them all day long, like John Baldwin said, we could have stopped her all day long from going, but we had to stop her from wanting to go. You have to stop the desire for them to want to go. And with her situation, with Mackenzie's situation, when the FBI got involved, and he said, look, this is the only thing that broke the programming in her mind. He said the FBI told her to get her to stop and not get on that plane because she was over 18. And he said, when you say this, he's going to say that. And she didn't believe him, and so she told him what they said to tell him, and he told her exactly what the FBI said he would say because it's a script. It's a playbook, and between my story and their story, it was almost identical. Okay, so now the fifth thing is really important. It's called conditioning. This is another warning sign, it's conditioning. This is the brainwashing, this is the programming that happens. The perpetrator wants to be the very first voice. He wants his voice to be the very first voice you hear every morning and the last voice she hears at night. This causes them to be dependent upon them. They can't do anything without them, without hearing that voice first thing in the morning and last thing at night. Really makes me think about how that's why we should be reading the Bible every morning and every night, so that God's thoughts are in our head first thing every morning and every night, because that is who we need to be dependent on. This is what the enemy does. He knows this. He knows. So I would hear her phone ringing really early in the morning at like 3 or 5 in the morning, or hearing a texting, and I'm like, who is texting or calling you at 3 in the morning? No, she would not answer me. She'd never answer my questions, ever. And so, again, she's 21 at this time. It's not like she's a child. And I just talked it up to being a wrong number, but he's on the other side of the world, and that's why it's 3 and 5 in the morning. It's the time change. And this is another key thing. I just thought about this yesterday and put it in my notes. Sleep deprivation is a huge way that they use to program them, to program your mind. Because when you're deprived of sleep, you cannot make good decisions when you're weak like that, and it makes you just automatically do what they want when you've been sleep deprived. So between like 1 and 3 in the morning, is a time when they want to talk to them. Of course, they're awake, they're not sleep deprived. It's their daytime over there, if it is somebody on the other side of the world. But what I really wanted to tell you also is that on my YouTube channel, I try to talk about things that topics like this that spurred from the book. And I've done some interviews with people, and I did an interview with a lady, some of you probably know her, but anyway, she lives here in Mobile, and her 11-year-old daughter, between 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning, she would be having to get online on her phone and live stream herself to this trafficker. The Holy Spirit picked that mother up out of the bed at 1 o'clock in the morning when she couldn't sleep, and took her to her daughter's room. And that's when she found out, and that's when she caught it. But I would definitely say, get up in the middle of the night, set your alarm, and go, and just slowly open the door to your child's room, because if you open it real slow, they won't even know it's being opened. But you can probably see if their light is even on underneath the door, and see what's going on. Be an investigative parent. I have an investigator, another interview I did on my YouTube channel as an investigator, and he's a dad, and he talked to me about some of these things, and I'm like, we need to be an investigative parent. You need to know, do you know where your child is at all times? Go and see, go investigate it, because here's the thing, the reason why this girl was doing this isn't because she was a bad girl. Of course not. She was a good girl. She was a Christian girl, 11 years old, innocent. But the reason that she was doing it was because he said, if you don't do it, I'm going to kill your sister. And she loved her sister, and she loved her big sister, and she loved her family. Now, if you know that if you don't do these things, it's just like sexual assault. The uncle or somebody is sexually assaulting. Of course, they're always told, if you do tell somebody, somebody's going to get hurt. So that is the threat that keeps them doing it. So I don't remember exactly how long he did this for. I know it was a while. It was years. It was at least 2 years. It might have been longer. That her 11-year-old daughter was having to do this every single night from 1 to 3 o'clock in the morning. Go online, live stream. He had a price tag on her on the internet. And how can she do her studies and make good grades either, on top of all else of what was going on? But that was only where their nightmare began, because after that 2 years, when she finally did break the code and figure out what was happening with her daughter, for at least another 2 years after they found out about him, he had dual citizenship, so he was living in Mexico and in America. That's why it was really hard to catch him. And he had no fear. This is what makes me think that there is someone higher up helping them, someone higher up politically, someone who has power and who has money that are backing these people, because he had no fear. He was uncooperative, impolite to say the least, just like in our case. Had no fear of the law or anything. They had a lawyer on him. They were, knew what was going on, and still, for 2 more years, this family was terrorized by this man. So after he couldn't get to the daughter anymore, I said, well, did she still have her phone turned on? Did she still have social media? She said, no, we took all that down. She didn't have a phone, she didn't have social media, but he was following me. Now he was following me, so he knew where she was, if she was with me. And he terrorized that family. Even when they had people looking for him, he wasn't afraid. Okay, the other part of conditioning is, besides the calling in the middle of the night, sleep deprivation, is they create this illusion of bonding, okay? They pull you in. So this is what happened with my daughter, is that he would talk about, this is when they're first, pulling you in, is creating this illusion of bonding. So they make you feel like you've known them, like you've always known them, and you feel safe with them because you know them, you've always known them, right? Because he would talk about how he watched the same Disney movies that she did when they were children. Oh, okay, well, yeah, you watched Lion King. Yeah, you're like me. We're the same. And he would say he loved to go to the gym the same way that she did, and loved to eat the same diet that she did. Let me tell you, we know that of course it's good to have things in common with people, but you're not going to have everything in common. And if you do, that's a red flag. And you're definitely not going to have everything to the same degree, as much as that other person. So it would be a smart thing to do to let them do the talking, not you talk and then they just pick up on it, But see, kids don't realize this. We don't realize it sometimes that we're giving them clues, and they're really skilled at looking for clues of how to create that bond with you. And now, how we have made it so easy for them by being on social media. We tell everything. We show everything, and everybody knows everything we like, where we go, where we like to go. I mean, they know it all. Even they're on the other side of the world and they know. So we've really made it easy for them. Sharing memories together as children. And then, of course, the last one would be kind of obvious, but the last red flag I have is that if you're keeping the relationship a secret. My daughter was keeping a secret for 2 years. She was being groomed. And Mackenzie was keeping a secret for a year. And if you really love this person, you would want them to know your family. You would want them to know your family, and they should want to know your family. But just because they say they want to know your family, oh yeah, I can't wait to meet your family. Just because they say that doesn't mean that they mean it. You've got to see it happen. It's not just words. They're very, very charming. Okay, now I want to talk about some of the ways I believe we can prevent this from happening. Number one is just awareness. And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing today. It's making aware, bringing it to your mind that this is happening and how it's happening, just creating awareness. To even know that it exists. You can't prevent something that you don't know is happening. So just letting other people know it's happening. You can share our book with people. You can go online on my website. You can, I just now this past month made some merchandise, like t-shirts and hats and stuff, and I have some things on there that just kind of gets people's attention, gets a conversation going. I call it awareness wear. So you can wear it and you can remember to be aware when you wear it. And we have some stuff on there that says clicked, tricked, taken is one of the little phrases, because that's what happens. Clicked, tricked, taken. And in our case, it was from 8,000 miles away. It wasn't next door. And so first, being aware. Number two is education, which is also what I'm trying to do today, is just educate. I believe in education, not condemnation. We don't want these girls to feel bad about what they're doing. Everyone can be deceived. That's the whole reason it's called deception, is you don't know you're being deceived when you're being deceived. That's the nature of deception. So just sitting down with your kids, talking to them about it, bringing them to things like this, letting them watch it. I'm going to upload this today so you can rewatch it. So if you don't have, I didn't have notes or handouts, but you can go back, rewatch it, and take notes, and you can share it. But just the education, girls don't need to feel bad about what they're doing. They need to understand it. They need to be educated. So we're just doing this to help you have your best interest at heart. So some tools that you can use is that there's an app on the phone. You may know about the parental control apps. If you just go to your app store, there's a parental control app or a parental monitoring app where you can monitor their Facebook messages, their text messages, the photos that they're sending, or photos that they're, I think it even gives you the photos that they're taking on their phone. Again, it's not an invasion of their privacy if they're living in your home. That's the way I look at it. God gave you a position as a parent. It's like a judge. It's someone to protect them and to know right from wrong. It's wrong for us to not do it. It's putting their life in danger. If they want their privacy, they can go get their own home. But even after they're out of the house, if they want the accountability, then give them the accountability. There are friends, there are people, it's not an app, I think they have an app now, but there's something called Covenant Eyes. You may have heard of it, that you put on the computer. I had that on our computer for our kids when they were children. And it's accountability for porn, it's accountability for just men to men or whatever. Just you need the accountability. So even as an adult, if they want to make sure they're safe and they want accountability, then you should help them with that. But you can't just put the parental control app, this is very important, you can't just put the parental control app on the phone. You need another app, and it's called App Lock. Because if you just put the parental control app on there and they just uninstall it, that's not going to do any good. You need the App Lock to lock that app on there that only you can take off or put on apps. So you can control all the apps on their phone, whether it's getting on the internet, and you can, say you only want it to have access to this app for this certain time of day or whatever, so you can control all the apps. There's one called FAMI Safe, F-A-M-I Safe, and it also has a tracker on it like Life 360, but you could just have Life 360. If they don't want Life 360 on there, they probably don't need their phone. You need to be able to know where they are. It's wonderful that we have these things. Technology can be used for good. It is a two-edged sword. It can be used for good. We need to have these trackers. The Life 360, the parental control app, the App Lock, and then also, I would even put a tracker on their car. You can get a tracker to go on their car. It's magnetic, and it's not very expensive. After you buy the tracker, I think it's like $60 for the tracker, and then after that you pay a monthly fee to track it. Now it is more if you're paying to have updates every day, all day, and then there's some where you can just have it once a month, but you probably need it daily. But it's worth it for the safety of your child, because if you think about it, not just for if they're doing anything wrong, but just for their safety. If they end up in a ditch somewhere because they're in a car wreck, or their car is having car trouble and their phone is dead, you need to know where they're at. So to have these trackers on the car and on the phone, because the phone tracker's only, the Life 360 won't work if it's dead, I don't think, if the phone is dead. So just having the tracker on the car and then the apps. But also, you need to have a team of surrogates, people who you can trust to come to you and tell you if they hear of anything, if they hear of anything odd or strange. We had people in our life who knew that our daughter was leaving and didn't say anything, because there were kids at church who just thought she was going on a mission trip. They thought we knew. But if they had just dropped a mention, just in conversation, said something, oh, hey, I heard so-and-so, I would have said, India? No, I don't know anything about India. Her boss knew. She had given a 6-week notice, had been training her replacement for 2 weeks. Her boss was, in her 30s. She was a young mother. She knew. She didn't say anything to me. Because people these days, especially girls, are just so naive. They just think that, well, it's just, we have this world without borders, because of the internet. We just think everybody's our friendly next door neighbor. And she just thought it was completely normal for some young girl to go to the other side of the world by herself. It is not safe for anybody to go to another country by themselves. My dad said, I would tell you if I was going to India. He's a grown man, he's in his 70s. Nobody does anything alone, but these kids are made to think that, oh, I'm not an adult if I don't do it by myself. Even the leader of the free world, the President of the United States, has a whole cabinet of advisors, and he doesn't do anything alone. So we need our kids to understand that it's not being an adult to not get help. You need help. I still ask my parents for help about things, or, get their ideas about things and ask questions. Okay, so this awareness and education, and there's 2 more. The ways I believe we can prevent this is, and this one is really important, I really think this is like one of the biggest things, is getting inside your child's head. You've got to get inside their head, and yes, this is going to take time, and I know we're all busy, and I say we sacrifice our children on the altar of busyness. But we have got to take the time to stop what we're doing and have conversations, uncomfortable conversations. As the investigator dad that I talked to said, he said, I tell my 14-year-old daughter, yes, this is an uncomfortable conversation, and we're going to be having uncomfortable conversations, and they're not going to get less, they're going to get more, more frequent. Now, I don't know if you want to scare them into it or make them upset or mad, but I mean, that was his way of, his mode of operation. But you really need to be their friend. You need to draw them in. You don't have to tell them you're going to have an uncomfortable conversation, but you're going to have to know that you're going to have to. But what I like to say is go for a walk. Just go on a walk, because go on a walk means go on a talk. Just go on a walk, because you're outside in the fresh air and the sunshine, you're getting your blood circulating, and that will inspire some ideas and some questions and things that you can talk about. And it creates the sense of friendship instead of just sitting there awkwardly staring at each other in a room. That doesn't help. So if you just get out, go on a daily walk after school, or at the end of the day in the evening, let's go on our daily walk, and then it gives them a chance to open up and talk to you. And once you get past the shallow part, because if you only spend a little bit of time, it would have taken me 1 to 2 hours at least talking to my daughter for her to open up. You have to get past the shallow, and once you get into the deeper things that they're not as willing to share, if you spend enough time, eventually you'll get to that deeper part. And that goes for your spouse or anybody you want to get to know. You have to cultivate it. It's like a lawn. In the beginning, you have this overgrowth. If you haven't talked in a long time, you might have a lot of work to do, but then it's just maintenance. You just maintain the relationship. It's easier later than it is in the beginning, right? So just cultivating that relationship and going and doing something together, or going and doing something new together that you haven't done before, that you both might be a little scared of. Those are things that really bond you together. Because trauma bonding actually works in some good ways. There's people that I've gotten really close relationships because of our common hurts and pains. So the predators know that this works. It does work. So bond together in some ways that you can do that. So the last way that I believe we can bring awareness is tell your story. You have to tell your story. I know that it's hard and it's painful, but it brings awareness, first of all. It educates people on the different ways and tactics so that we can be more educated on, well, how did he do it to you? How did he get this? How did they do this? And what all the intricate details of what happened. Whether you have to write it in a book, or you get up and talk about it, or you sing it in a song, or whatever. You just need to get it out of you, because that's going to bring healing to you. It's going to bring healing to you, and it's going to bring healing to other people, because whenever you have the courage to come forward, it gives other people courage to come forward. Because a lot of times girls don't come forward because they think that no one's going to believe them, and also because they don't believe they're going to have the support that they need. And when you come forward and you're courageous, then they see that you're getting that support, then they know the way's been open for them too to come forward and get the support. And the average time that a girl ever comes forward, if she's been sexually abused when she's a teenager, the average time she will ever come forward is about 50 years old to tell about it. And the thing is, that's a lot of other people for him to be doing that to, for a lot of years. So it's not telling your story is putting other people at risk, if you think about it that way. So ask God to give you the courage to do it, because it is not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. Nothing that's worth it in this life is easy. Another thing that businesses are doing to help prevent this is some of the restaurants and the gas stations and other businesses are putting the human trafficking hotline number on the inside of the door of the bathroom stall. And I-10 is a major traffic route for trafficking. It goes all the way from one end of the country to the other. It's close to the beaches. The beach is a really big trafficking area. And they are trafficking girls in 18-wheelers that look like UPS trucks. That looks like it's a UPS truck, but it isn't. And so one thing that the Quick Trip gas stations are doing, which is an excellent idea, they are having something called safe rooms. A girl can go in there and lock herself in that room, and everybody in there knows what she's there for and can get her help. She doesn't have to say anything. That's an excellent idea. And every business, we have a small business, and I'm not sure what we can do, but there are things that all businesses could do. If the businesses get together, they can do a lot to do what they can in their own business. So now I want to go back to sharing a little bit of the rest of our story. And thank y'all for being so patient, because this is the longest I've ever talked before. So the amount that this family paid for our daughter to come to their country was 1 year's worth of rent in their currency. This was a substantial investment, and one that I am sure they were wanting to make a return on. This was not just to meet. We truly believe that we thwarted an attempt that day in the New Delhi airport where he had our daughter meet him with his supposed sister. New Delhi is the #1 city and the #1 country known for sex trafficking. It's where he had her meet him. So we definitely believe that he was going to make a transaction that day, because he didn't have her meet him 1 hour longer to his hometown airport. Why would he get on a plane and go an hour to meet her at the capital, sex trafficking capital of the world, if he wasn't going to make a transaction? It was only 30 minutes from the Pakistan border, in a country where Christians are killed for their faith. So even if he was okay, which this whole thing started out on deceit and manipulation, so I don't believe it was, but even if he was okay and he wasn't going to traffic her, 30 minutes from the Pakistan border, our pastor told us if she ever makes it across that border, you'll never see her again. And anybody could have grabbed her and trafficked her if he wasn't going to do it. It was the area that she was in that was so dangerous. And my daughter was naive enough to believe that she was made to believe that in this Hindu religion country of India, where they worship thousands of gods, that Christians were actually paid money by the government for being Christians. That's what he made her believe. That was just one lie he made her believe. So we believe that when we thwarted an attempt that day of a transaction, we believe that now he was just settling for plan B, which was a chance at U.S. citizenship. We don't believe that that was plan A. The reason why I don't believe that that was plan A is because my daughter had a 10-year visa. Why would she need a 10-year visa to India if his plan was to come to the United States to marry her and be a U.S. citizen? She needed to be in India for a long time to work her, I believe. So that throws marriage fraud out the window, even though he eventually did successfully achieve that. So 7 months after we brought her home, we didn't, when I say home, I mean to our airport. We didn't make it home with her because she was taken from us. Again, that is an element of spiritual warfare. My brother, my husband's brother, and one of our friends from church who were helping us in the beginning conspired and collaborated to take her from us at the airport. And my friend took her took her aside and whispered in her ear that we were going to put her in a mental institution. She'd never see the light of day again. So that's what made her go home. She was already angry, so she went with her, and she was already angry with us. And so there's definitely spiritual warfare involved. Our brothers do not like our religion. You know, they don't like our Christianity. There's just a lot of things there. Because some people, and I put that in there because people ask, why in the world, how in the world did that happen? You know, turned on a dime, like the minute we landed there in India. People who were praying for us turned to cruel hatred. I mean, it was just amazing how things can turn around. But so, 7 months after we brought her home to the U.S., she again returned back to India and married him. Now, she sold her car to go, and at this point, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So she sold her car to go over there and make the trip, and at this point, you know, they weren't going to do anything to her because it was on the news over there, it was on the news here, it was just, the government was involved, and I think at that point he knew he wasn't going to do anything, so God protected her a second time. But she went over there, and at this point they only knew, there was 1 week that she was over there while we were trying to get to her. The second week that we were there with her, so that's 2 weeks. And then when she went back over there to marry him, she was only there maybe 6 weeks, just enough time to plan a wedding, because it was really all decked out, you know, with the red and gold wedding gown. And so they only were really together that total, you know, weeks that they'd ever been in each other's presence. And so she came back to the United States 6 months after that, because you can only stay on a visa there for 6 months at a time. She came back to the United States and began working to get him here to this country, because you have to have a sponsor so that he can't just come in this country and get on welfare. You know, they have to have a U.S. citizen sponsor them to say that they're going to pay for them if they don't work. They don't pay. And it's a 10-year. Even if he divorces her and marries another woman, she for 10 years has to pay for him to be in this country so that he's not taking from us, you know, taking from our welfare. So she began working as soon as she got back here. She began working to help get him over here. She worked for 5 years, working 2 jobs at some times, sleeping on the floor because she sold her furniture, and then worked for 3 years. She worked nights. And then we do believe that he did come here in January of 2024. And when he got here, what did he do? He go see her? He didn't. He went straight to Chicago, never even saw her. But guess what? She's not upset at him. She said, no, it's my fault. See how the brainwashing just continues, the trauma bonding, the protecting him. It's not him, it's me, it's my fault that he didn't come see me after I worked for 5 years to get him here. So now I don't want to leave you without any hope, so I want to share some of the miracles that God performed for us and some of the promises that he has fulfilled from his word, and some promises that we're still waiting on to be fulfilled. But number one, the first miracle is that she left the letter. If she had not left that letter, we would have no idea what to do or where to go. She actually had written down her route information in her handwriting. She wrote, oh, not her handwriting, sorry, the whole letter was typed. Even her name wasn't signed. It was all typed. It could have been anybody. But she had just kind of typed out her route. It wasn't like I had flight information, but she did have her route, so we knew what was going on. We had something to show the detective, which he said, look, that letter looked exactly like sex trafficking. It looked typed out and everything. It looked exactly like all of them look. And even the FBI told us, we can't help you, but yeah, this looks exactly, they looked at the letter, they said this looks exactly like another case that we had. It's identical to it, and it didn't end well. The second miracle is that, you know, we had never been anywhere before. We didn't have passports. We didn't have visas. We'd barely been anywhere in this country, much less in another country. We had never been anywhere. So what would normally take about 3 months to get your passports and visas, we were able to do in 3 days. So that was the second miracle. It's amazing the speed in those first 48 hours, what we were able to accomplish. Only God could have done that. We were scrambling. We had no idea what to do. And then the third miracle is that we have a worldwide church, and we have a conference in Washington, D.C., and the president of that conference used to be the president of the conference in India. Not by mistake, I don't believe. And then the conference, so he got in touch with the conference president in India, and they made a plan for some of their church members to get up out of their beds at 3 o'clock in the morning and come to meet our daughter, an American family's daughter, at the airport, so that she would have a choice whether to go with the people we sent or with the boy and his sister. And the third miracle is that she chose to go with the family we sent and not with the boy. And I believe that she heard the Holy Spirit. I believe that she actually heard the still small voice that, you know, you don't know these people. Don't go with strangers. Go with the people your parents sent. And she did. The last miracle is that just at twilight, as the sun was going down on our last day there, because when we got there, we saw her for 1 day. And after that, we were not allowed to see her again. I believe they were blackmailing us. I believe the government believed they were blackmailing us and thinking that we would pay them money or something, that we had money because we were American, and you know they were just trying to capitalize again because they knew we were taking her, and so so right there at the end of the day, as the sun was going down, we didn't know anything. We didn't know the language. We didn't know where we were. We didn't know how to get around. We felt like 6-year-old kids there. I mean, we didn't know anything. We didn't know how to do anything. And by God's providence, He sent someone. As we were praying at the church, a man walked by, and he was a politician. He happened to be walking by. It was our last night there. And he told me, after, we didn't, again, they talk in their own language, and they just stop every now and then and tell us things. And he told me, looked me squarely in the eye and said, "There is no man on this earth that can help you." And finally, I was like, well, great, that's good. That's music to my ears, because if no man on this earth can help me, then guess what? Only God's going to have to do this. And as soon as I said that, it's almost like he didn't even mean what he said. It's like as if on cue, he just stood up and said he knew somebody, so he knew a man that could help me. So they took us to this government office, and this was a minister of state who was having a press conference, so it ended up being on the news. And so we got there, and they talked to them in their language. I never said anything except for at the end, he just said, "What do you want us to do for you?" And I said, "We want to take our daughter home." And he said, "She will go home with you tonight." And they took military guards with machine guns to his house and surrounded the house, and they detained him and his family for a night just so we could get out of the country, and put us on a plane with our daughter back home. And so God saved her out of that place, and he saved her twice when she went back 7 months later. God had given me the verse in Job 5 that says they will not be able to carry out their plans. And so he brought me that promise. And I want to talk about very briefly just some of the parallels that I saw between our story and the gospel story, so I know that I'm not alone. God himself had a broken home. He was the perfect parent in the perfect home. So if I thought that I did anything wrong, or I could have done more, because I'm always thinking, oh, I could have done so, I could have done this, I could have done that. But God himself, the creator of the universe, he was the perfect parent in the perfect home, and his home was broken because his angel that he created, Lucifer, left his home, and he took a third of the angels with him. They chose to leave their home and follow a deceiver, a liar. So God knows how I feel. He's in the same place. And then God came down in the person of Jesus Christ. He left his home. He left his throne. He came to this foreign world. And we didn't want to be saved. We turned our back on him, and we don't want to be saved. That's exactly what happened with us. We left our home, our business. We risked our life to go to this foreign country, and our daughter did not want to be saved. She didn't want us to save her. She turned her back on us. So humanity is the prodigal, and God is saying, come back home. That's all we want. We don't want anything. We just want her to come back home, and that's all God's saying. Just come back home. I'm your father. I love you. I don't want anything. Just want you to come back home. That's what God is saying to us. I'm just going to briefly talk about and give you a few of these verses, and then I'm going to close. When we first got there, the first verse that God gave me when I opened my Bible, and I was so glad I opened my Bible because I was hysterical. We were just landed there, and we just got in our hotel room, but he gave me this promise. It said, "You have been astonished. You have seen hard things, but I will deliver your beloved." So I knew right then he was going to deliver her, but of course by the end of the week I'd forgotten about it, but he hadn't forgotten about it. And Jeremiah 31 says, "Your children will come back to you from the distant land of the enemy. Your children will come again to their own land." And he did fulfill that. Even with our brothers, in Jeremiah 12, "Thy brothers have dealt treacherously with thee. They took counsel together against thee, and I have heard their slander." And then the ones that we are still waiting to happen, but have kind of already happened, some too, because God brought her back to us physically, but it's going to take another miracle to bring her back to us in our heart, because her heart is far from us. But in Isaiah 29, and this is the verse that many people were quoting to us as we were getting on that plane to go to India, "The captives of the warrior will be released," and this is for you too, because your children might be being captives of the enemy. "The captives of the warrior will be released, and the plunder of tyrants will be retrieved. I will fight against those who fight against you, and I will save your children." And he has done that, and he's going to continue doing that for all of us. Yes, we do wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. So this is not people that we're wrestling against, not at all. They're just agents. They choose to be agents. We can all choose to be agents every day of God or Satan. Who do you want to work through you? And then this one I love, and I love to quote this one to God every day. Isaiah 49. Soon, all your descendants will come back to you, and all who are trying to destroy you will go away. As surely as I live, says the Lord, for look around you and see, they will all come back to you, and will be like bridal ornaments or jewels for you to display. So I'm here to tell you today the story isn't over. I do believe my daughter will be standing here with me one day to give her story, and that's the story we really want to hear, because we want to know what made you leave your family and be gone for so long. And she's going to be able to teach other people these tactics and strategies of the enemy and how it happens in detail that I don't know, and there's things that me and her don't even know that went on. But when I was writing this book, when I started writing this book, I told God, as I sat down to write, I said, I don't have a good ending. God, I don't have a good ending. And I was really ruminating with this for like 3 weeks, and I got on my elliptical one morning and I turned on the Christian radio station. I was going to do my exercise, and the very first voice that I heard come on was the radio announcer, and he said, hand God the pen, and he will write an ending that you didn't see coming. And so I got busy writing, like I want to get to the end of this book so I can get this ending. And right up until the time we were going to put it on Amazon, we believed, she was going to text me or something. I could just write at the bottom, then she texted, and then that would be nice closure, right? This nice little ending to it, at least, something. But God didn't see fit for it to happen that way, so we are still waiting on the ending, and we do believe there'll be a sequel. I do believe she's going to be standing here with me. And I also want to tell you that your story isn't over either. Your story isn't over. Any trial or tribulation that you're going through is there for a reason. It's there to help you. And I know the first thing when we encounter suffering and pain that we want to do is get out of it. Right? Of course. But if we learn to embrace the pain and suffering, and we learn to learn what it's trying to teach us, that is what it is there for. It's there to teach us. Your test is a testimony. Your mess is a message. And there is purpose in your pain. It's not for nothing. Don't waste it. I heard a pastor say, don't waste cancer. You have cancer, don't waste it. Let it be for something. And if it's not okay, it's not over. And giving is living. If you want to live, you need to give. That is what living is about, is giving. And I want you to know that you can come out on the other side. You can come out on the other side of whatever you're going through. And not only can you come out on the other side, and this is what I say on my YouTube channel, because it's for moms that are going through difficult situations with their children, whatever it is. You can not only come out on the other side of whatever you're going through, you can come out on the other side better. Better than when you went into it. So, trials are there to teach us. A setback is just a setup. A sequel is coming in your story. So if you trust God with your pain, trust Him with your story, He will use your story for His glory. So I want to thank y'all for listening, and I want to open it up for question and answer. Yes, ma'am.
So at the end of the book, you talked about that your daughter had contacted your boys or one of your boys and let them know that she had married this boy. She wasn't with him, but she had married him, but that she was having a baby with somebody else. Have they heard anything since then? How long ago that actually was?
We believe that she met this new person in maybe the summer or fall of 23. And so right before she found out that, the day before she found out that this guy in India that she had been trying to work to get into this country she found out he was finally getting here. I think she had went on with her life and just thought, well, it's not going to ever happen, and found this other person, got pregnant. But I believe that, which bad for her, it really looks like marriage fraud. It looks like, well, you really weren't in a relationship. But by my book, it shows she definitely believed she was in a relationship. But whenever, the very next day, after she found out he was coming to this country, she found out she was pregnant with this other person's baby. As far as I know, they're still in a relationship. The baby turned a year old a couple weeks ago. We've never met the baby. She's beautiful though. And I know one day, and that's why I said that verse is so important to me, because it says all your descendants. we'll come back to you soon. She's, as far as I know, she was still married to him because she didn't have the money to get a divorce. So she's still married to him, but has a baby with this other person. And your life can really go in the wrong direction whenever you don't listen, to counsel. And so it's kind of been a mess. But we don't really know that much more.
Contact them either anymore?
After, when the book came out, she got upset about it, and she got upset with her brothers because they didn't tell her about it. So she cut them off again. She had actually met with them last July, and they actually sat down and had a little reunion. That they had not seen each other in 6 years, and so they sat down and had time to visit, and that was so wonderful, and we learned a lot of things. And she stopped contacting them as soon as the book came out. She was upset about it because they didn't tell her about it. And so they haven't had any more contact. But this is my oldest son right here in the pink. He said he was raising his hand. So did she contact you recently?
No.
Okay.
You wanted me to speak on that, but you said it just right.
Okay. Yeah.
Last time I had contact with her was at Christmas. I don't think you told that part.
Yeah.
That was the last I had.
Yeah, so I had sent some Christmas gifts because I knew, it would feel bad if I didn't. I would regret it. Baby's first Christmas, and she replied by telling my oldest son, "Tell Destiny, not Mom, but Destiny, that we don't want anything from her. Don't send anything else." So that was the last
Actually,
thing.
it was a little stronger than that. She told me, "I told you not to."
Yeah.
So it was more aggressive than just telling me that, "Hey, I don't want anything."
Yeah, so that was the last contact, was don't send us anything. We don't want anything from you. And that was last Christmas. My mom wants me to say that even though she said don't send anything to us, that one of the cute little Alabama onesies with the tutu was on the baby, and she took a picture of it. So I guess she did want it. She didn't send it back to me.
You didn't have to.
Yes, ma'am.
So could you give us the names of those apps again?
Yes. Well, I don't know the exact name of the app, but it's a parental, if you go to your app store, it's a parental control app or parental monitoring app, but the one that, the app lock is the name of the app lock. It's app lock is the name of that. Covenant Eyes is one of the computer ones, but for the phone, there's several different. Family Safe was one of them, FAMI Safe. That's one that has the, a tracker on it, but it's just like 360. So you could use any of them and just use the 360 if you wanted, but I guess that one's built in.
Is all those on one page? Because we might get copies.
I don't have it on here. But yeah, you can rewatch this and take notes on my YouTube channel. I have books, of course, that are donation today, or you can just take one, I'll sign it for you. And on the bookmarks, you can get my website, and you can go there and you can go get through to my YouTube, and you can rewatch this, and I'll have it uploaded in a week or two, and then you can share it, and you can write down some notes and remember everything, because I know it's a lot of information. So, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
You had my exact question. Is she still with the baby's father?
Yes, I believe she is. I believe she is.
Could she not, I think it might have been mentioned, could she not have that marriage annulled?
That's what I would counsel her to do, because it was a pretended marriage. It wasn't a real, it was a sham marriage.
Yeah.
That's what I would counsel her to do, but she has been under the counsel of my brother-in-law
Who twisted up?
yeah, and he was gonna, help her with it. So, they're kind of the new parents and grandparents, I guess, but I'm not gonna give them that. I'm not claiming that, but that's what they're acting as. So, okay, well, if there's not anything else, then I'd be happy to meet you over at the table and sign your name and my name on some books. I've got plenty for you. I think we got enough for everybody here. And the bookmarks. And also wanted to tell you that if you don't get a book here today, you can go on Amazon and get it. But we have all formats available. We have the digital book. We have the paperback book like this one. We have the audio book. It's on audio now. And also October 1st, the 1-year anniversary of it, we'll be having the hardback come out, which makes a really good Christmas gift. And then you can email me through my website. We have, you can go to my Facebook page, and also I just now came out with some of the merchandise on there. But yeah, and that's everything. I thank y'all so much for having me here.
Well, I feel very educated. She's right. This is an uncomfortable thing to hear and talk about, but I think it's necessary. So I'm glad everybody was here today. Please stop by the table and pick up a book. Again, Destiny is not asking us to actually buy the book today. She is for a love gift or a donation. You can have the book, and again, if you weren't prepared, she wants you to have one anyway. Also, as I mentioned, we are taking up a love offering today for the Camille Place. Now, Camille Place is that home up in Monroeville in an undisclosed area. They have a Camille Place and a Samuel Place for boys and then one for girls. And this is the place where the girls can come, and it's a faith-based ministry to help the girls. They're nurtured physically, they're nurtured spiritually, so that they can be heard, so that they can heal. And it's very sad to me that a place like this is necessary, but I'm so thankful that there are people that have seen the need and that a place like this is available. So again, a love offering we're taking that also. Please make sure you go to the table and meet Destiny and pick up a copy of her book, and if you need a snack or some water on your way out, please stop and get that as well. Father, thank you so much for the day. Thank you. Thank you for Destiny. Thank you that you worked so miraculously in her story. And thank you that you are still working in her story. And Father, thank you that this is such a reminder to all of us that you work in all of our lives in big and small ways. Father, I pray we would acknowledge you in every area of our life, that we would make your word the first thing and the last thing that we have in our minds, that we would be so filled with your word, that we would be so filled with your presence in our life that there would be no room for anything or any deceiver to come in. Father, we live in a fallen, broken world, and we know this, but we know that you do have the last word. We know that you are in control. And Father, I pray that we would be reminded again, afresh and anew today, how present you can be and want to be in our lives. Father, if we would just allow you to be that for us, that you would be everything for us, and that we wouldn't need anything else. Father, thank you for the way you love us, the way you have watched care over us. I pray that you would be with everyone as they go now to their separate homes until we can all be back together again. I pray all this in Christ's name. Amen.